104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports. Joining us now, she was there live at courtside during UNC Duke at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Covers college basketball for the USA Today. Nicole Auerbach joins us now. Nicole, looking at your Twitter, now it looks like you're under the smelly arms of college kids. Is it even enjoyable to cover these games for you?
Yes. I didn't cover a game at Cameron last year, so it has been about 2 years since I was there. And I remembered how on top of you there are, literally, there is no row. So, there's no space behind the seats. So they are literally on your back. And I had actually forgotten. The best tip anyone ever gave me was wear something that's not expensive because they're painted. Their chests are painted. And they're leaning on you. And the girls have glitter. So, the first time I went there, I brought, a ratty blazer, and, it was fine because there was paint all over it. And I forgot yesterday, so I had to go out to Old Navy, look for the cheapest sweater that I could find on discount because I was like, I am not ruining one of my, actually, expensive clothing outfits here. So I did that in preparation for exactly what you guys are talking about. The armpits, the paint, everything right up on your back.
Do the fans, because they're so close, start heckling you guys in the media section? Because I get Cameron Indoor Stadium so close and going after the players, but they're right on top of you. They could be touching you on your shoulder, hey, Nicole, what do you think about that last play?
Well, the ones around me last night were very friendly. They in the beginning, they'll ask who the refs are going to be, or if there's questions about starting lineups or whatever. But for the most part, when they accidentally elbow you or they're jumping or whatever, it is accidental because they don't mean any harm by it. The ones behind me wanted to be in selfies. They were very excited when I was doing snapshots of the crowd and stuff. They posed and made faces in them. So it was generally an enjoyable group. One other veteran writer who's been there plenty of times, he says he always brings out an extra water bottle or two to make friends with them so that they can run into him less during the game.
Nicole Auerbach with us right now on 104.5 The Team. So Duke wins, led by Grayson Allen. He has won me over. Is he actually good for college hoops?
Well, I think he's been, arguably the most interesting part. I did a kind of a little primer for people who had been wrapped up in college football or Super Bowl and the NFL, whatever. And, the first thing that I thought of was that probably most fans have only really paid attention to Grayson Allen to this point. If you're just a very casual sports fan, you've seen highlights of him tripping. You probably hate him if you're not a Duke fan. That struck me because now, the thing that I found so interesting about all of it, and I agree, I think, he deserves to be suspended after doing it for the third time. He's obviously, in those moments, you could tell it, just the passion and the competitiveness just kind of overtook him and he couldn't control himself and he did these things. But personality, because I've sat down with him plenty of times and talked to him about kind of being the next hated Duke player before last season. This is coming off the national championship game when everyone first really was introduced to him. And he does not like it and he does not thrive off it like a J.J. Redick. And so last night after the game, which was phenomenal, 7 threes, 25 points, he played great, he played confident. He's playing like Grayson Allen used to play, all last year, and when he played in his freshman year. And I think the story, and he talking about how much better he feels and comfortable he feels, and just how tough it was. Parts of the season, he did not get specific, but not hard to guess which parts of the season were tough for him. But I think he's a really compelling story.
It surprises me, and it almost is discouraging for Levack and I because we've talked about wanting Grayson Allen to embrace the villain, to embrace the heel, go almost full pro wrestling mode and make college basketball even more interesting. We've seen examples. Eric Diefendorf at Syracuse, Marshall Henderson at Ole Miss. These guys embrace the villain role. Are you surprised that he doesn't want to embrace the role?
Well, I think that's up to everyone's individual personality. After having been around Herschel Henderson, these are very, very different guys. They're wired completely differently, play differently, completely different backgrounds. Marshall Henderson was like that at every stage in his basketball career. His dad was a coach, and he kicked him out of the house in high school. There's different. It's just a different background that leads to certain players, I think, embracing that and doing a gear chomp after he beat Florida or whatever, as Marshall Henderson did, versus a Grayson, where I think that he is getting looped into, he's white and he's a guard and he's scrappy, so therefore he gets stereotyped and put in a box that a lot of previous Duke guards have been in. without really his asking, his doing. Obviously, he wanted to go to Duke. He wants to be on the stage, but he didn't ask to be put in that box. So I think that's where, like, me as someone viewing it, like, I was happy for him and for the story of him, like, to have kind of a redemption note last night in the Carolina game, because having understood that part of his personality, it's just like, is this a guy who really loves being hated or whatever? Like, I think, like, Draymond Green does something and he doesn't care, like,
right.
He will laugh it off, he'll brush it off, or he'll just, like, own up to it. I think that's different, because then you root or you view people in a different way. But when you're watching someone who's kind of conflicted about some of these actions and feeling really terrible, I mean, it's hard to be like, yeah, keep doing that, because you feel for the kid. And I just think that he's just not wired that way.
Nicole Auerbach from USA Today right here on 104.5 The Team. So, Nicole, before we call you, we jot down a bunch of questions real quick just in case, we need something to work off of. And every college hoop reporter we've talked to recently, Goz has snuck in, is the ACC the best conference in college hoops, which I can translate to, hey, how much do you think Syracuse has improved? He's such a Cuse homer. That's what he means. As you watch these ACC teams, do you think Cuse is going to be a factor in this thing?
I mean, I do, as of the way they're playing lately. The ACC to me is very interesting, just from the standpoint of, if you look at all the mock brackets out there and the bracketologists, you're seeing teams with losing records in the ACC that are in the field, and that even in the strongest years, like when the Big 12 is the best, Big 10 is the best, whatever. Usually, you've got to go at least 500 in the league, and I know some of this is a little bit projecting, some of it's whatever, the weak bubble, but it just really shows how deep the league is, that, like, a sub-500 record is not automatically knocking these teams out. Like, Clemson is still in the picture. So I think that's interesting. I think that Syracuse is reminding me quite a bit of last year, where when you want to write them off earlier in the year or whatever, one game, I mean, St. John's of all teams, you see that game and that outcome, and then they just continue to surprise you as the season goes on. So, the league is kind of like that, because outside of, I guess Carolina's probably been, until last night, and then they played pretty well. They missed free throws, they missed some shots down the stretch, but they're a good team, and they've been maybe the most consistent team in the league. But everyone else has kind of had those, like, you're not entirely sure what version of that team is going to show up, and it's one of those, the cliches, anybody can beat anybody in the night, but it's definitely been that way. And I think one of the more interesting things on the Syracuse tangent here that's happened over the last couple seasons is Syracuse being Tony Bennett's kryptonite. Like, it's so weird to me that this program that has really, really elevated itself and been so solid, is so solid on both ends, like, has had these big leads against Syracuse and watched them evaporate. And it's just so strange to me, of all the teams. Like, when you're getting the zone, you kind of know what style player, like, it is in Boeheim's system. Like, it's just kind of strange to me that this has happened twice now to a team that barely ever happens to.
Nicole Auerbach from USA Today helping us out with the ACC. She was there last night. We appreciate you.
All right, thanks for having me.